Okay, it's time to talk some football here on a Monday, and this is the early line show. Yeah, it is. Week 15 is on the horizon for us, but welcome in. Let's talk some NFL football because some big information just coming in on the Monday Night Football game. But before we do that, if you are watching here live on our YouTube account, thank you for doing so. If you haven't subscribed to us, please do that, and also hit the notification bell. Every time we go live on Bookmakers Review, you will get it delivered directly to your inbox. If you are watching live through our Twitter page, thank you once again for doing that also. And if you haven't done so yet, give us a follow on our Twitter account at BMR Reviews. So again, when all the information comes through, you can come in and have some fun and watch it play out, or also jump in the chat box with us here on YouTube. Big doings in the Monday Night Football game tonight, fellas. So if we take a look tonight between the Rams and the Arizona Cardinals, we opened up at a 2.5-point line, which stayed there pretty much all through last week, bouncing between 2 and 2.5. Now we're seeing threes across the board. If you haven't got the late breaking information here tonight, Jalen Ramsey is out and into the COVID protocols, along with starting tight end Tyler Higbee. That's a devastating effect here for the Rams. So you're also looking at a lot of players on that team affected. So running back situation up in the air, tight end situation up in the air, probably the best overall cornerback in the NFL. Not going to play tonight, and we'll see if he's going to be active and ready by even the next time the Rams play. This is a monster game tonight in the NFC West, because when you're trying to take a look at pole position heading into the playoffs, the Arizona Cardinals currently sit in the top overall seed, which is very important. The reason why you want the top overall seed in the NFL, there's only one bye per conference. NFC one bye, AFC one bye. In the past, you used to have 2 bye weeks. So these guys fighting for that top spot means a lot. And tonight, if you were looking for the Rams to stamp their place in the NFC West and have a legitimate chance to overcome the Arizona Cardinals, you had to beat them tonight. Now you're going to be down a couple players here and playing on the road. And when you're taking a look at the way the season is going to progress, you go from an 8-4 Rams team. If they could move to 9-4, that's a big move. But now dropping back the possibility of 8-5 here, that's not what we anticipated here after 13 games for the Los Angeles Rams. Going to be a tough one tonight. Welcome in to everybody in the chat box coming in and checking out and hanging with us here on Bookmakers Review. Kyle not with us today, buried in a snowstorm out in Oregon. So hopefully he digs out this week and he'll be ready for the Sunday show as we get after it once again on the late lines on Sunday afternoon. But let's get to have some fun here on the show this week. Now, last week, great weekend here. Had a very good betting week. Both my team totals came into cash. Last week, as we were doing the show, the Pittsburgh Steelers team total over 19.5. And then on Sunday, we hit the Seattle Seahawks on their team total also. So 14-7 overall best bets here on our team total wagers. And we'll certainly try to take a look at a few things. Vitalis in the chat box. Donnie, MGM is offering the Cardinals team total over 24.5 minus 135. Wondering your thoughts. Too bad we can't get 24. It is interesting here because this should actually help the total in the game. So let's take a look and hit this game and what makes the most sense for us, right? Forget about the injury information that just came down, because obviously that doesn't help the Los Angeles Rams in their game tonight against the Arizona Cardinals. But I was coming into this game already a little bit worried about the Rams. And quite frankly, if you're looking at this game, right, let's just say you handicapped this game all week long, and you said you like the Rams. You see Jalen Ramsey is out. Now all of a sudden you don't like the Rams? Like, what time? Like, there'd be a flimsy handicap, wouldn't it? Just because one guy is out, now you don't trust your team to win the football game at all? I mean, injuries happen in the NFL. Nobody wants to see the best cornerback in football go down. But if you're thinking now that the Rams are going to pack and run here in this game, like, we have no chance, our season's over because Jalen Ramsey got COVID, that's not going to be the case here. But coming into the game, I always liked the Arizona Cardinals in this one here. They're home. They already beat the Rams. And also, take a look at the Rams. And, who cares what they did opening day against the Chicago Bears, and they lit up, Andy Dalton and the Bears, and we were ready to coronate them as the actual champions in the NFC and probably going to win a Super Bowl. Matthew Stafford, greatest move of all time, going to LA, is going to be the MVP. We heard a lot of that after week 1. But now they sit here 8-4. But look at the last 5 games here. They're 2-3 in their last 5. Just taking a look at a 5-game snapshot. They beat Houston. They beat Jacksonville. What? Everybody beats Houston and everybody beats Jacksonville. Do you know the 3 teams they lost to? The Los Angeles Rams? Tennessee, playoffs. San Francisco, playoffs. Green Bay, playoffs. You're going to face the Arizona Cardinals, who have the best record in football tonight. That line was cheap. And I was doing some shows earlier today also, and you're saying, like, before this injury news came out or the COVID list came out for the Los Angeles Rams, I'm saying to myself here and going, I don't understand this line here to begin with, because it seems like a lot of disrespect. And you're coming into the game finally getting healthier here for the Arizona Cardinals. This was a team that was still fighting out here and winning football games with Colt McCoy and also DeAndre Hopkins down for a couple games. This is a really good team and a really good organization, and Cliff Kingsbury doesn't get enough credit for this team. Also, keep in mind, Chase Edmonds coming back as well to add some running back punch here for the Arizona Cardinals. In their last 5 games, 3-2, lost to Green Bay 24-21. They should have won that football game, to be honest. Like, Arizona at home in that game versus a COVID-depleted Green Bay Packers offense, particularly wide receiver, they should have won. Ended up having a nice win against San Francisco. The one crazy game, though, was the Carolina Panthers game. 34-10, they lost. But again, now you move forward and you had Seattle. You go there 23-13 win again with Colt McCoy quarterback. You finally have a nice comeback here, 33-22 over Chicago. If you remember that game, DeAndre Hopkins comes back in that one, as well as Kyler Murray. They were able to move the football. Didn't need to do too much because Ed Dalton gave them that game. But that's nice to get, your feet wet back into the arena here and saying, hey, ready to play some football, maybe knock some of the rust off of Hopkins and Murray as they come to play tonight. But I have to say, anybody out there in the chat box, did it change your opinion on this one here? Did it? It didn't really change my opinion that much because I was always on Arizona in this one. And by the way, just updating as well. This is great because I love doing the show live where this information flows repeatedly here. No Chase Edmonds tonight, so he's on the inactive list here. So again, fire up James Conner, right? Fire him up here. Matt Bratz said, Donnie, how about that 10-1 hit on the Green Bay-Chicago game? Look, I had a nice, and just to get back, because we'll hit this Rams-Cardinals game to finish it up in just a few moments. I had a great day rooting it on yesterday. I was very close. This was going to be one of my best overall days in prop betting, which it was already. But I did have a parlay that was a 10-1, ended up hitting last night with the Green Bay Packers money line. But I got to tell you, I hit a lot of plays last night too. Really extended it because I try to be a little bit judicious during the day. You take a couple 1-and-1s. I got bailed out on a touchdown pass by Tom Brady in overtime for that 1-and-1 that I like to bet there. We had the quarterback throw a touchdown pass in the first half and the second half, and also bailed out on Jimmy Garoppolo, who got the late touchdown pass in overtime. So he also hit that. But coming into that night game, I was like, you know what? I think we're going to get some points in this one. Sitting there 3-0 at the end of the first quarter. It seems like it was going to be a disaster. Like, come on, man. Nobody's going to score points in this game. But I did have a nice hit on a 10-1, which was 4 touchdowns combined out of 3 football players. David Montgomery, he didn't even score at all. It didn't matter. Devontae Adams got 2, and also Aaron Jones got 2, which paid me out 10-1. Also bet double, or twice the amount, I should say, $50 and $50 once they gave the odds boost on Aaron Rodgers to throw a first half touchdown pass and a second half touchdown pass. That was sensational stuff. But the one I was waiting on last night, if you guys follow me on Twitter at RightSideVP, I was really digging in on this one because I took a flyer here on Justin Fields. Because, again, I thought we would have scoring in that game. It was cold conditions, wasn't all that windy. I know Chicago's defense is brutal, and that's why you got so many points out of the Green Bay Packers. But I also took the 1-and-1 for Justin Fields, which is at plus 450. Throws 2 touchdown passes in the first half, unable to get it in the second half. But I also had that with a 10-1 bet with Aaron Rodgers, who got it. So those last couple of drives here, I was sitting up my seat saying, man, I had an unbelievable day already. And if I could cash this final ticket in here, that would have been probably the best prop betting day I've ever had. Almost short, but still a sensational day overall here for us. Montalis, again, Murray to throw 2 touchdowns and a Cardinals win is plus 105. That's a pretty good one here. That is a pretty good bet, and we're going to hit those in just a few moments. But tonight, not going to waver my opinion here. If you thought the Rams were going to win this football game and you're bailing now because a player is out, I don't know what to tell you how flimsy that handicap that you had was. But if you're taking a look from an Arizona perspective, I never wavered. I thought they were the better football team coming in, and I do think they win this football game going away. And also, never hurts there on the total, right? As we take a look at the, let's get some updated lines on this game right now. 3s are across the board here. Opened up at a 52. Now sits a 50.5 on this football game tonight. I think it does have a legitimate chance to go over that total. And now let's bring up some numbers here on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Now, they did take down, while I was getting ready for the show, the anytime touchdown score market, and they've now come back with it. And I got to be honest with you, James Conner was minus 150 this morning. He's now minus 135. Again, if you get on the goal line for the Arizona Cardinals, James Conner is like clockwork there. He's going to get the carries. He's going to get the usage rate, and he's a damn good short yardage back this year for Arizona. And I was slandering his name last year with the Pittsburgh Steelers, guys. I mean, hey, man, this guy can't run. He's slow and not going to do anything once he gets out with the Cardinals. Boy, he's certainly turned me wrong on this one here. Now we got team total over 27 from Steven. I mean, we're getting up there a little bit. Very rarely do I venture over 24s. But I do think there is a chance that we get points tonight. But at the same time, you still have to keep in mind, That is a really, really good Rams defense. And yes, they're going to be down their top playmaker in the secondary, but this is one of the best pass rushes in football tonight. And I think a lot of people are just throwing this game like, I can't trust them anymore. No way the Rams score, and you're just going to run up and down the field on the Rams. If you take a look at Pro Football Focus, they're the number one overall defense in football. And yes, I understand they're down Jalen Ramsey, and that is a loss. But I don't know if we're just going to race up and down the field just because of that. And pass rush is the greatest elixir to cover up a secondary that may have some issues. And you're going to get a damn good pass rush here out of Von Miller and Aaron Donald in the middle. But let's get back to this anytime touchdown score market. Sony Michel, minus 120, probably the only guy that's going to get carries. That's a legitimate look there. Cooper Kupp, I mean, come on. Price him at minus 105 here. If the Los Angeles Rams are in this football game, guys, I think we can both agree on this, right? He's going to have a big game if they win. I don't see any way that you have Cooper Kupp not scoring a touchdown or not having over his yardage total, which was 90 or 92 and a half a little bit earlier today. If he has 40 yards receiving and no touchdowns, there's a really good chance that the Rams are getting busted up in this football game overall. Then if you want to take some of those flyer shots here, right, DeAndre Hopkins plus 115, which that's an interesting one, right? Because you're trying to balance about what actually makes sense. Are the Rams dead in the water just because they don't have Ramsey? No, it's not. But that could open things up here because the cornerback situation for the Rams is elite when Jalen Ramsey is in. But now you're looking at the number 2 cornerback shifted into the number 1 spot, the number 3 guy into the 2 spot, the 4 guy into the 3 spot. Get my drift on this one? So in NFL action, we get injuries throughout the game. Just because Jalen Ramsey is down before the game, it's not like you go to Madden and you turn off the injuries where nothing is going to take place in the secondary and you know exactly who's playing here. This is going to be interesting and also a shift where you did not game plan for this, right? Your game plan on defense is in place by game day and well ahead of time where you've executed in practice. You know exactly what to anticipate. So I assume the coaches got the news roughly the same time as like the Adam Schefters did, where you only had a few hours to prepare for this ball game now when you know Jalen Ramsey was a big part of it. That's going to be the interesting situation in this one here to see how it plays out overall. Zach Ertz plus 220 to score a touchdown. Kyler Murray plus 210. Let's go all the way down the list here. Is any guys all the way down? Now, these are always the ones that are interesting to me, right? Now, Matthew Stafford doesn't run a lot of footballs in, but anytime you have the chance of a quarterback sneak, he's sitting there at an 11-1 price for a quarterback sneak touchdown. Do you like that, man? Maybe, maybe not. Also, take a look at the defensive special teams touchdown here for both the Rams and the Arizona Cardinals here. Plus 650 on both sides. That's interesting stuff here as you take a look at also. But you guys know how I like to get down on Monday Night Football, primetime games. I'm looking for the 1-and-1s. I'm looking for the odds boost here. Now, let's go over some of these odds boosts. And these are fascinating here tonight, too. Because the one that I like, which I'm probably going to be on, and it always seems a lot easier to hit than it, hey, everybody gets a rushing touchdown and a passing touchdown in football. That's not the case because I bet one yesterday in a game that I thought was probably the easiest rushing and receiving game you could have. It was the Baltimore Ravens and the Cleveland Browns. Got close, but if you figure there's 2 teams that would rush the football in for a touchdown and maybe 1 touchdown pass over 4 quarters, it was going to be that game yesterday, and it didn't work out. But tonight, the Rams and the Cardinals to each score 1 rushing touchdown and 1 passing touchdown, boosted from plus 140 to plus 180. I think I might have to get involved in that. Because if you're looking from a passing standpoint, right, would you guys out there be shocked if we saw tonight the Rams or the Cardinals, either one of those teams, not have a touchdown pass, right? I mean, come on now. Come on now, man. Now, the hard part usually is the rushing touchdown. Because it's not so much that the teams don't rush the football in the goal line or James Conner scores damn near every game on the ground. But you're taking a look at the Rams, a little bit depleted in the running back position, but Sony Michel still should be good in this game once you get down to the goal line. But the issues that always pop up, it's almost like once you get down more than 2 scores, like nobody wants to run the football on the goal line, particularly in the second half, where maybe you have to lean on a pass interference in the end zone, put the ball to 1, quarterback sneak, hand it off. But I do think that is a legitimate bet tonight here at the plus 180. Thanks, Chris Cousins. Appreciate you guys watching the show here. Jack Falk, also Donnie. Ramsey news not impacting the side that much makes sense, but I would think the total would go up, but it is not. There's still a lot of money going on. And again, this shows you right now, and we'll see where it closes at once the money starts to filter in and people actually get word at work, hey, Rams just not playing. I'm going to, fire away here on the total. But you have to keep in mind, like you see, and it's a great question you bring up, Jack, because here's what goes into the thought process behind it. and you see everybody on social media, oh my God, hysteria, Jalen Ramsey is out. If this was such a big deal, you're right. Why did it not go from 2.5 up to 5.5? Because it's one football player out of 22. The guys that impact the game the most are who? Massive injuries on the offensive line and your quarterback not playing. So Jalen Ramsey just might be the single best cornerback in all of football. And the odds makers are telling you right now he's worth a half of a point. Think about that, which is why I opened the show saying, if you like the Rams coming into this game and you're bailing already, how strong was your handicap just based on one player who's a non-quarterback missing the football game? It's kind of crazy when you think about that and how it breaks down here. Now, let's take a look here. Another odds boost here tonight. Now, this one just got really interesting, guys. And the reason why I say that, Cooper Kupp and DeAndre Hopkins to each score one or more touchdowns tonight. That's boosted from a 380 all the way up to a 5-1 bet here. Now, if you're taking a look at touchdown passes here for the Rams, also keep in mind, Tyler Higbee is taken out of the equation. Tyler Higbee is a tight end, a red zone threat. More opportunities, possibility here for Cooper Kupp. Also keep in mind, this game is not based 41, 42, 43. We're in the 50s as a total, so we anticipate touchdowns here. Now, also DeAndre Hopkins, where you might have looked at that and said, you know what? Coming back from injury here, not so sure it makes a lot of sense. But he's a dominant wide receiver. It looks like he's finally healthy and back to being his old self. But then again, you would say Jalen Ramsey might shadow him, so maybe somebody else is going to get a better opportunity to score touchdowns here for the Cardinals, particularly at the wide receiver position. Now that he's taken away from the equation, that actually got very interesting now. So Cooper Kupp and DeAndre Hopkins to score a touchdown at 5-1. Man, really, really makes you think at that. But let's get back to the game and have some fun with some game specials on tonight. Before we move on to Week 15, it's going quickly, guys. It's going quick. Like before you know it, you're going to be watching me here on BMR, and we're like, okay, opening day in baseball. See, it's crazy how fast it goes. It was just a few short months ago. We're both myself and Kyle were doing videos like, hey, man, it's so exciting that we have football back in our life, and we're 2 weeks out from playing the Dallas Cowboys and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the opener for Thursday night football. So enjoy it while it's here. But I have to say, in the NFL, we usually save the best for last because also keep in mind, we'll get to some of these games in just a few moments. You got Monday Night Football this week in the NFL, Thursday Night Football in the NFL, and you also get Saturday NFL action and Sunday. Fantastic time of the year. The playoffs are going to be sensational. I can't wait. So make sure you keep the channel locked here to Bookmakers Review for all our NFL content. Now, let's get to some of the game specials. You guys know I have a soft heart for this. Like, I love the game specials market, sometimes even more than my team totals because there's so much fun to cheer on. They're big ticket items, but you have to do it judiciously here and just don't spray the board. So a lot of the times for myself, like earlier in the year, I had an 18-1 in this market, which was a touchdown for each team and a field goal for each team in each half. And I haven't bet it since here. And I think I want to come back in tonight and maybe take a look at that, but we'll see. But let's take a look here at what makes sense at the plus money prices. I can almost guarantee you tonight, haven't fired away. We still have a couple hours to go. If we take a look here, Matthew Stafford to have one touchdown pass in each half tonight is plus 115. And also, if you take a look at the other quarterback in the game, Kyler Murray. Now, again, no longer Jalen Ramsey in the game. Maybe it opens up a couple more passing options. Kyler Murray, one or more touchdowns in each half tonight, a plus 180. I love doing this, and it usually works to my advantage. Almost had the monster one last night. But again, you had a plus 450 price on Justin Fields. He didn't cash, but you still had some nice plus money tickets there on Aaron Rodgers. So theoretically, guys, you're using this to your advantage. Like, you know, you take two dogs in Major League Baseball season, you go, all right, I got one at plus 140, one at plus 125. If 2-0 is fantastic, but at least if I can get the split, it's plus money and it's moving on. Tonight, Matthew Stafford again, plus 115, Kyler Murray, plus 180. One of those guys comes away with a first half touchdown and a second half touchdown. You cash that ticket and you get plus money. One of the ones that is usually a sweat, and I don't enjoy it all that much, but I have cashed this ticket and I have lost this ticket. One or more touchdowns to be scored tonight in each quarter. That sits at a plus 120. But some of those where you get off to a slow start or, hey, they scored with or they're driving down the field. I need to score it in the next 2 plays, or it's going to flip to the third or the fourth quarter, or excuse me, the second quarter or the fourth quarter, and you don't cash that ticket. Probably going to lay off that one at a plus 120. And I know this one is always an interesting one. This one probably lines up pretty well tonight for you guys as well in the prop betting market. Matthew Stafford and Kyler Murray to combine tonight for 500 yards passing and 4 or more touchdowns, plus 165. So you say to yourself, and you're thinking like, oh, man, seems a little bit high here. But break it down. If I were to tell you coming into tonight, would you be shocked if Matthew Stafford threw 265 yards and 2 scores? That should be like an average game for Matthew Stafford. Kyler Murray on the opposite side, 255 yards and 2 touchdown passes in a dome tonight with 2 good offenses and 2 great play callers. You wouldn't be shocked. But the best part about it is it's a combined wager for you here. You could have Matthew Stafford 400 yards passing, Kyler Murray 100 yards passing, and that would do it there for you as well. You could have Matthew Stafford 4 touchdown passes and Kyler Murray 0 touchdown passes and still cash that ticket in. So I do think there's some validity to that overall. Jack Falk says total just moved from 50.5 to 51 at DraftKings. Like, I'm telling you, if you give it time, people are going to start, because nobody right now, and I want to say, outside of you come in and you say, all right, I like the Rams as it was. I didn't bet. I didn't really like him at 2 or 2.5, but now I'm going to get him at 3.5 or 4. Or I like the under in this game, and I don't care who's out. And the price was 50, and now it's going to close at 53.5. Then I'm going to bet under. Outside of those players, which aren't a lot of the general public, the first thing you see when you get off work tonight and you go home, if you haven't been wasting time at work like I do just about each and every day, and surf, Twitter and social media to find the late information, you might be driving home and you might be listening to the show. You might be listening to ESPN or whatever you're doing. Hey, by the way, Jalen Ramsey, I got to get home. As soon as I get home, I'm betting the over, and I'm betting the Arizona Cardinals. That's typically what happens when you have a big name injury out here. Vital says, Kupp and Hopkins to have a combined 200 yards and 2 touchdowns for plus 500. See that? Makes a lot of sense now. Vital, would you be shocked in this game at the half? Cooper Kupp's got 50 yards. Hopkins has 40 yards, and each one of them have a touchdown or one of them has a touchdown. And you say, damn, I got a second half here to cash a plus 5 to 1. Hopkins now is open in that secondary where you don't have a guy that can shadow him. And the same thing with Cooper Kupp. I don't care if you're shadowing Cooper Kupp anywhere. Seems like this guy is always getting after it today. And by the way, just watching also through Twitter here, Washington football team having some issues here with COVID. The Philadelphia Eagles just placed Quez Watkins on the COVID list. Be careful here. And if I can't say this enough, sometimes we come on these shows and we just want to get picks out and say, here's what we like and move on. But I always like to give my thought process on what happens throughout the year and some of the evolving of my handicapping, even over the past year to year and a half with COVID. I used to, Monday, which was a fantastic day, which I love coming on talking with you guys, like the opening lines, which we'll get to in just a few moments. But at the same time, I used to have what we call circle plays on Monday. I would open it up and I would do some light handicapping and sort of go, I like this, I like this, I like this, I like this, I like this. It almost doesn't make sense. It seems like a waste of time. Beating the number has nothing to do with your handicapping at this moment now. Because if you're taking lines on a Monday or Tuesday when the league is having COVID issues, you are only to blame on Sunday when you wind up like, damn, I was trying to beat a 2.5 to a 3. Now my starting quarterback is out for the game. So I like to wait as long as possible. Now, it's a little bit easier with a team total, unless obviously your quarterback goes down. But if you're picking from a side perspective, it's so tough, guys. Like evolving, picking games and but most people will tell you the most important thing to get is the best line available. And over the long term, that's going to equal success. But that's really out the window right now. It's out the window. You can't bet games on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, it seems like, anymore in the NFL without saying, boy, I hope half of my offense is playing this weekend. You just can't do it. In the past, you guys know me. The minute I put a team total out, we're rocking and rolling. It's been few and far between. We're on a Monday or a Tuesday that I bet a team total. In the past, I used to do that. But you have to evolve with the times. I'm not getting left holding the bag saying, boy, I don't know, the Washington football team against the Eagles. And now just about every single person on their D-line is out. But I wanted to jump a line because it looked good. That line doesn't look so good when half of your players that you counted on for being on Sunday would not be there here for us. Dustin Lee says, like the LA team total, if you're giving me one of the league's better offenses on an indoor track for less than 150, yes, please. It's interesting. It is, because I do think that usually we worry about, right? It's December 13th. You saw the last Monday Night Football game here, right? You saw the Buffalo Bills and the New England Patriots, freezing cold temperatures, 40-mile-an-hour winds. That's a lot of the times what we're looking at heading into it. But it's very rare in December we're going to get two really good offensive coordinators, two really good offenses in a dome in a controlled atmosphere. So it does make sense here. Now, typically for myself, Dustin, I would look at this game now, since I don't have a wager on a side or a total or a team total, you would start to gravitate towards the Rams on offense, knowing they are going to probably have to keep up with Arizona. And also when you take a look at the totals, obviously their total is going to be lower than the Cardinals. Why? Because the Cardinals are favored in this game. But a lot of good stuff here to look forward to in the prop market. And as you guys always know, when I bet games, when I release them, if I have something good, so many people in the chat box, you guys hit me up on DMs all the time. And if I'm here and I'm available, I always like to chime in and give my advice. Hey, what do you like here yesterday? A couple people, what games you're looking at? I got multiple tweets. And I said, yes, hey, look, Seattle's team total over. And I like the Atlanta Falcons today. Those were the two plays that I was looking at I thought made the most sense overall on the card. And they both ended up working out well in our favor. A little bit of sweat in that Seattle game, though. When I tell you guys, I like to walk around with my dog and smoke a cigar when things get a little bit hairy. I did that yesterday. Always comes up aces here. So 14-7 this year. But let's move on and let's start to talk about some lines here for this weekend. Because as I said again to start the show, we got Thursday night football, Saturday night football, and Sunday here. Fantastic stuff as we get out of the bye weeks and we have full slates of NFL games. Let's take a look Thursday night football. Get this game. Kansas City and the Los Angeles Chargers, 301-302. Line opened up as a 3-point favorite here to Kansas City. Now sits at 4s primarily across the board. 49.5, now up to 51 as a total. Now, if you guys been watching Kansas City as close to be as I have, pretty amazing. We were waiting on this football team to show up on offense. They show up seemingly against the Raiders each and every time they play them. Obviously, only play them twice per year, but they lit them on fire both games. So now we're going to take Kansas City on the road to play the Chargers, and this is a monster game in the AFC West. If you had the Kansas City Chiefs, who are favored, they win this football game, probably going to put that division to bed right after this weekend. But if the Chargers can play well in this football game and knock off the Chiefs, you might have a race to the end here. Now, 2 weeks ago, there's a market on the FanDuel Sportsbook that offered a plus 110 price on the Chargers to make the playoffs as a wild card team, which I jumped on. So technically, I love the fact that the Chargers won last week against the Giants. I'm actually rooting against the Chargers on Thursday night to take a loss because I do still think they'll be in the playoffs. And again, to cash that bet, they need to be in the playoffs, but as a wild card contender. Now, looking at this game overall, the Chargers played well against the Giants. A lot of teams outside of the Eagles play well against the Giants. But also, looking forward here, Austin Eckler goes down with that injury, man. Goes down with the injury. So they're saying, it's not that big of a deal. It's an ankle. You're telling me the guy gets injured on a Sunday, can't put any weight on his leg. He's built on speed and cutting ability, and he's going to be ready to go on Thursday night on turf for Los Angeles? I don't think so. But also, you're taking a look here at the Kansas City Chiefs. They are the scariest team in football. I tweeted out yesterday during the game. Tampa Bay is really good. They almost blew that football game. But when Tampa Bay is right and Antonio Brown comes back and Tom Brady is healthy and playing at a high level, that offense is damn near unstoppable. But now you're trying to take a look here for the simple fact in this game that you're telling me Kansas City over the past 2 months maybe has the best defense overall in the NFL. Look at the scores that they're holding teams down to. You're telling me Kansas City might have an elite defense? Folks, if Kansas City has an elite defense, and Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid get it together on offense, which they did yesterday, where it doesn't have to be that high wire act. I believe he went 20 of 24 in that game, 2 touchdown passes, no interceptions, and they blew the doors off of the Vegas Raiders. If Kansas City plays good football on the defensive side and just gets anywhere near what we expect out of Patrick Mahomes, we watch out in the AFC. So looking at this game here, Jack Folks is also Casey not losing the Los Angeles Chargers twice in a year. Maybe not here. Thank you, Matt Brown, for the kind stuff. What's up, Alex Ramirez? Welcome in everybody in the chat box, having fun, talking some football here on the Early Lines show right here on Bookmakers Review. All right. Now, in that game, I'm sorry. Usually it's home team or no team. I see the 51 at it. I love Justin Herbert. And I love the simple fact, if you guys remember the previous game that these two played, the Chargers went for damn near every fourth down. They went to Kansas City and said, we're not going to leave it on the football. We're not going to leave it in the locker room. We're going to leave everything out on the football field. And as we know, field goals do not beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, also, when I say field goals don't beat the Kansas City Chiefs, Did you guys watch yesterday? Did you see the score? 35-0. The Raiders were down, closing in on halftime. They had about, 8 or 10 seconds to go in that game. They were inside the red zone. They ended up kicking a field goal inside the 10-yard line to make it 35-3. I mean, tell me you're not interested in playing football without telling me, right? I mean, you got to be kidding me yesterday with the Raiders. But then again, that's what Kansas City's doing, the football teams. Slightly lean towards Kansas City on Thursday because they're going to be the healthier team coming in. But also note here on COVID, as we see all this stuff coming out today for us, the Chargers just placed rookie left tackle Rashawn Slater has been sensational on the COVID list. Things are getting dim out there. And again, Keenan Allen, who missed last week's game because of COVID, expected back on the Thursday night football game. So if I'm looking at it from a perspective, and again, you're trying to jump lines, right, guys? COVID is getting spread like wildfire around the NFL. So immediately, what would you be thinking now? Let me jump on Kansas City. Well, how do we know Kansas City isn't going to have anything going around in the clubhouse over the next 2 days here? Wait it out. Trust me here. If we get to the game, if you see a 4 on the board right now, right? You're trying to tell me that you won't like the Chiefs if the Chiefs stay healthy here. Austin Eckler is out. More COVID problems here for the Chargers. That you won't like the Chiefs here -6 on Thursday? That's too expensive. I'm not playing it. 4 was I loved it at 4, but you don't like it at 6? You got to be kidding me on that stuff here. Bobby Mills, thoughts on the Cardinals over 13.5 team total first half? Always a little bit tricky. I do like them, which means what? You got to get 2 touchdowns in the first half, which they can. The only issue with that is, Bobby, is if you don't get the ball first and you get a less possession than the other team. So it's an interesting wager, but you're going to need 2 full touchdowns over the first 2 quarters. It's an interesting bet, but I don't want to steer you in the wrong direction like you're looking at everybody, like you're looking for this. Hey, Donnie told me this. So tough bet there. Should it probably go over? Yes, it probably should. But keep in mind, again, they do need 2 touchdowns. So if you get 3 scoring drives, touchdown, field goal, and obviously you're going to be left a little bit light in that department here. All right, let's get to the Saturday games, people. And the team we're just ripping here, the Las Vegas Raiders going up against the Cleveland Browns. That's 305, 306, a 4:30 start. Yes, on Saturday. So college football, still going to have their bowl games, which we'll talk about a little bit at the end of the show here. But the NFL is going to take center stage here. Cleveland, what can you say? Nice win. It wasn't a nice win, but it is a win over a division rival with the Baltimore Ravens. And any win against the Ravens is a good win when you're trying to make the playoffs. But having said that, what are we getting out of Cleveland? Probably an honest effort in this game. But do you guys trust right now? We're seeing 6s and 6.5s across the board here as a favorite for the Cleveland Browns. You take a look at the Vegas Raiders. It just seems like I don't want to say they've given up, but this is a dome team that got embarrassed on the road, look like they're hitting the skids, barely eligible or available to probably make the playoffs with the record that they have. They're going to go to Cleveland in 15-mile-an-hour winds and possible rainy conditions in Cleveland. Do you think they're going to get up for that football game? And taking a look at totals, right? What gave you the impression that the Vegas Raiders are going to start putting up massive numbers here after their showing over the weekend? I don't know. It doesn't give me any confidence there. So let me just bring up here Vegas and Cleveland just for a couple looks. All right. So you had this. What happened to the Vegas Raiders? What happened to this team that started out so well and just plummeted? I don't know. Maybe a John Gruden scandal that got your head coach fired, who basically was the organization, and Henry Ruggs driving drunk in his car and ended up killing somebody. Now he's, gone off the Raiders. You try to replace him with Deshaun Jackson. That's not working all that well. Look at their last 5 games here. Offensively, there's one anomaly, and that's the Dallas Cowboys game. Kansas City, 14 points. Cincinnati, 13 points. Dallas, 36 out of nowhere. Then they go back and play Washington, 15 points, and Kansas City, 9 points. So if you're looking here, typically, right, if this was just a couple weeks ago, what would we be saying here in this Browns game? Over 42. What, are you kidding me? What, are you kidding? Vegas is probably good for 21. Cleveland will probably win the game and score in the high 20s, but not so fast anymore. Also, Kareem Hunt's down, so that's the Nick Chubb show for the rest of the way, or until we get some MRI or some news here coming back on Kareem Hunt. Baker Mayfield hasn't played that good of football. They basically had a lead on the Ravens yesterday and sat on it the entire way. Don't need to give a full handicap here, but I got to tell you right now, I'm not really big at all on the Vegas Raiders, but then again, is Cleveland going to put up any style points and win this game going away? Have they shown the ability to do that? Not quite frankly here. New England and Indianapolis. This is great Saturday night football, right? 311, 312. Game of the week. You're going to put that on prime time on Saturday. Awesome, man. Mac Jones coming in and New England Patriots. I want Indianapolis to win this game because, number one, I do have a team total for the season on the Colts to go over 8.5 wins, which means they need 9. They still have a great shot to get it. If they can beat the New England Patriots, that will help. Now, as we look at this game, right, what's the first thing that pops to your attention here? Look at the line, -2.5. So if you weren't looking or you didn't open up your book and say, boy, what's these odds looking at here? If I told you it was 2.5, no doubt in most people's mind, you would say to yourself, the New England Patriots are favored by the 2.5. Not so fast. Patriots might be the hottest team in football going on the road, and they're getting points from the Indianapolis Colts, which I don't know if you agree with it overall, but you saw in that Monday Night Football game, they don't really trust Mac Jones all that much in big games. Now, it's in a dome. Arm strength shouldn't matter all that much, but they're showing a lot of respect for the Colts. That is a stone-cold Indianapolis Colts line here where Vegas expects them to win the game, and I see a total of 45.5 across the board. You also take a look at some teams that will be, like we say, rested and ready for this football game. Just have to keep an eye on the COVID situation and how that plays out for the rest of the week. But is anybody out there looking at this game and saying to yourself, I really got to jump on the Patriots or the Colts here at this point? I see Emza in the chat box, New England play of the week. This is going to be a great football game and sensational that it's going to be a standalone game here on a Saturday night. Now, you guys know me. I'm an old man. I used to say, like, hey, man, I can't really wait up or, I can't stay up and I'm too tired to do this. It's a Saturday night. No excuses, Big D. No excuses at all for this one. But that's a great game here. Over under, as I said, listed at 45.5. Let's get to the Sunday NFL card here. Go over some of the top games of the week. Washington and Philadelphia squaring up in the NFC. Say, why is this a big game? It is a big game because it seems like it's going to be a playoff eliminator. The winner is going to probably move on. The loser is probably going home for the holidays. And as we just take a look at here, Washington having disastrous results here on the COVID list. You're looking at just about every one of their defensive line from the starting of the year that's probably not going to be available in this game. And you're taking a look at why does that make a big difference? Because the Philadelphia Eagles want to run the football here. Jalen Hurts expected to be healthy enough to start in this game. But if Gardner Minshew plays, we saw how well he played in this previous game against the New York Jets. He is a capable backup to come in. The Philadelphia Eagles, who opened up at a 2.5, now sit at a 5.5 here against the Washington football team. Over under in that game, listed at a 43. Vital says, Donnie, your thoughts on Bengals +1. We get the road dog and not really. Yeah, we'll get to those games in just a few moments here as we take a look at the rest of the card. Tennessee and Pittsburgh, 1 o'clock game on Sunday, 317 at 318, -2 as a favorite here for Tennessee. You could say a nice win, I guess, on Sunday by Tennessee. But at the same time here, who'd you play, man? Nobody in the Jacksonville Jaguars, but they do get a shutout victory, which helps. Now you're going into Pittsburgh, who showed some life in their last game. Thank goodness, because the simple fact is if they didn't show life, I would have lost my team total, but they did come to play in the second half. Who do you trust more? Are you guys going to get sucked in here by this Pittsburgh Steelers team by saying, boy, they look good in the second half and almost came back and won against the Minnesota Vikings? Or is this one of those games that you look at a 41.5 and say to yourself, I don't see a high-flying game out of either side in this one. Let's take a look at the weather conditions this weekend out at Heinz Field. Man, look at this, 40 degrees, 11-mile-an-hour winds, and drizzle. That's about what we probably can expect here from Pittsburgh. So that'll take some getting used to throughout the week here as we take a look. But outside of it, not all that interested probably in that game. 4:05 game, Atlanta and San Francisco, Matt Ryan and Jimmy Garoppolo. How about this, right? So you see Atlanta, resurgence. Arthur Smith, hey, I got to give Arthur Smith a lot of credit, the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. This team could have just folded up shop and actually cut bait and just ended their season early and said, what do you want us to do? We're too injured. Calvin Ridley's away for mental health issues and getting himself right. Matt Ryan doesn't look like he's playing all that well. His arm is shot. And here they are on the cusp of trying to get back in the playoff race, going to take on San Francisco. And San Francisco is favored by 8.5 in this game. Let's see how Deebo Samuel gets through the week here at this point. Let's see if the San Francisco 49ers get some guys back at the running back position. And also, I didn't know if I saw something popping back here with an update for San Francisco. But I might have just glanced out of the side of my eye, maybe, caught something. I don't see anything up there right now. But you do have to imagine. Jimmy Garoppolo, sometimes I don't think he can throw you to victory. Doesn't seem like too many points, though, to be honest with you. You look at this line overall at 8.5, over under at 46. Probably get decent weather conditions out in San Francisco. Atlanta's been playing decent ever since Cordell Patterson has been healthy and back healthy. They've been moving the football and playing well. Now, San Francisco defensive line, Bosa and the boys, probably going to eat against a slow, immobile quarterback. But also, if you read or looked at the press conference last week, Matt Ryan giving a lot of respect to their offensive line gelling and giving him time to throw in some lanes for these running backs to get through. So that one should be an interesting game out on the West Coast. Cincinnati and Denver. I know, Vitalis, you were talking about this game here. Joe Burrow and Teddy Bridgewater. Cincinnati getting to the point. This is interesting to me overall, this game, when you try to handicap it. Let me get some weather conditions here. 42 degrees out in Denver, so finally starting to turn a little bit colder out there. Denver's had some, 55 degrees, 60-degree games over the past month. It's basically an anomaly when you're playing in December and late November in Denver. Sometimes you're thinking more snow than actually nice weather here. But Joe Burrow coming in, devastating loss in overtime. Denver at home, favored by a point. And I got to tell you, Joe Burrow did have his pinky finger taped at the end of that ball game. I do think it's affecting him a little bit, but a really good comeback in the fourth quarter. It's just a matter of what you trust more. And to be quite honest with you, I think Denver at home does have the advantage, but at the same time, I'm just not sold on Teddy Bridgewater. Like, you saw Joe Burrow, he can look, bad in games at times, but then he could snap back in the fourth quarter, throw some dimes like he did, to Jamar Chase, who on that one play, which almost a fantastic catch, which they called back. It's so interesting to see overall, what the gamesmanship is going to be in this game, because you see an over-under of 43. And I got to tell you, a lot of the times I look at this and say, I want to go over. But at the same time here, I look and I say to myself, the Denver Broncos, they invested a lot of money in their wide receiver core and a lot of draft capital. Courtland Sutton is a really good football player. So is Jerry Jeudy. And also Tim Patrick, a very capable number 2 target. But the fact you have Teddy Bridgewater back there just stunts the whole offense. It's like having an iron chain and a ball on your ankle that you're just trying to move downfield. It's like, come on, Teddy. These wide receivers are open. Like, if you're not using those guys, it's not as if you have a poor wide receiver core. It's like, you know what? I got to check down out of the backfield and use my running game. You have 2 really good running backs, solid tight ends, and very good young wide receivers. And somehow it just doesn't always line up. So I'm going to see how that game progresses throughout the week here. But it's kind of interesting here that the Denver Broncos show up as a favorite. Green Bay and Baltimore, line on the move here. Why? 2.5 up to 5.5 is because we don't know the status here of Lamar Jackson. But also, if you take a look at last night, Green Bay played extremely well on offense, guys. But you did hear Aaron Rodgers say, hey, I banged up that toe even more. So now you're going on the road. It's always a tough environment to play. But if you're going to go into this game with Tyler Huntley as your quarterback, not really getting that much out of the running back position, I don't know how you go with Baltimore here, but let's see where that line ends up by the end of the week. Because if this is one of those games where Baltimore knows that Green Bay knows that Baltimore might not be able to do all that much on offense, maybe you don't get that high wire attack. And maybe you didn't get it last night unless you saw that, 45-point second quarter where Chicago was able to answer the bell and put up a couple touchdowns there, which forced Aaron Rodgers to continue the game and play well, as opposed to running out the clock, which Green Bay does well. Did you see in the second half, particularly that last drive in the fourth quarter? They'll take it all the way down to 1, call a timeout. They'll run plays. They'll get 3 plays to get 11 yards repeatedly and take the clock out of it. So I want to see where that line actually ends up here and see what happens. All right, Seattle and the Los Angeles Rams. Now, the Rams are playing tonight. Once they take the field again, is it going to be Jalen Ramsey out for that football game? And is Seattle reinvigorated? I won both the past 2 weeks here on the Seattle Seahawks. Once against the 49ers. I thought they were a dog play in that game. They won it outright. And I told you guys, loved it. My favorite play of the week was the Seattle Seahawks team total over 24 along with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And that came in. Now we're taking a look at this game going up against the Rams. You know that Rams pass rush is going to be devastating. But I don't know, folks, if the Rams should be favored by 7 points like they're sitting there at Bet365. I don't know. I just don't know here to see if that makes some sense. So early in the week, if I'm looking towards a dog, it's probably going to be Seattle getting the touchdown here. Pete Carroll still has their ear. They won 2 straight games. I don't think they're going to the playoffs. And quite frankly, they should get beat by the Rams coming up on Sunday. But what happens if we have a worse outlook here and Ramsey is not playing, so DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett can get off against that secondary? Russell Wilson, who looks like he's much better and much more in shape from coming back from that finger injury that he had just a few short weeks ago when you saw him against Green Bay, like, damn. He can't play, right? He can't play at all. Looks like he's rebounding back, played a nice game, and cashed in. Did anybody out there cash in that Russell Wilson touchdown prop of over 1.5 touchdown passes in that game? Which I'm telling you, gambling takes years off. I'm 44 years old, man. You might as well think I'm like 65 years old with some of these games that you watch. Because who had that bet? Because also you're taking a look here at the team total in balance and also the touchdown prop in the balance, because it would have been 4th down from a half-inch yard line. And if you kicked the field goal, you would have went up 2 scores. But thank goodness that ref on the side of the field called it a touchdown, and they stuck with it, went for the 2-point conversion, ended up getting it anyway. But my God, that shouldn't have been a sweat, because on the inch yard line here on a 4th down, they're probably quarterback sneaking Russell Wilson, handing it off in the backfield, or doing something like that, which would have cost me, if they didn't get it, possibly a team total. Now, I knew they scored later, but also the touchdown pass would have never hit there. So that was a nice one here to pick up. How about Sunday Night Football here? New Orleans and Tampa Bay. Taysom Hill going to go on the road to take on Tom Brady. Tom Brady and the boys almost lost that game against the Buffalo Bills, but again, they didn't. They won. That's all that matters. They're trying to keep pace with Arizona and Green Bay as the top teams in the NFC. If we take a look across the board here, I'm seeing 10.5s and 11s here, and rightfully so. But at the same time, maybe New Orleans getting a little bit healthier. Maybe both of those tackles will be back. I was surprised at the usage rate of Alvin Kamara in that game, getting over 20 carries versus the Jets. He looked like old Alvin Kamara, man. He looked really good. Taysom Hill was running the football effectively. But here's the issue that you have, guys, right? When we're watching overall New Orleans and Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is multifaceted. They can beat you on the ground with Leonard Fournette having a great year. They can beat you in the air with their wide receivers, Godwin and Evans, and Gronkowski at tight end, and Tom Brady's arm. But if you take a look at New Orleans, how do they want to beat you? Play good defense and run the football. Anybody seen how you run the football against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? So if your strength is running the football and Tampa Bay's strength is stopping the run, you're going to ask me and ask Taysom Hill to win this football game in the air? I don't think that's going to happen here. No doubt about it. But that's that card that for some of the interesting games that we're looking at. Now, other games on the card, Carolina, Buffalo. Buffalo should be able to sweep that game with Cam Newton possibly at quarterback, or I don't know, P.J. Walker being a quarterback here. But also keep in mind, Josh Allen, a little bit of turf toe, a little bit of a foot sprain here from what we're looking at. So that doesn't help here. And maybe a Mitchell Trubisky start. How can Buffalo possibly miss the playoffs when we're taking a look at them as a possible Super Bowl contender? Man, that's interesting stuff here. Jets and the Dolphins. The Dolphins should be able to pace that football team. Dallas and the New York Giants. Dallas should win that game going away. If Michael Lennon is the quarterback again, that's going to be a blowout. News coming in now for the Cowboys left tackle Tyron Smith aggravated an ankle injury and will not play against the Giants. So down their star left tackle on that one. Hey, guys, if you're looking for a wager on Sunday afternoon, right? How about this one? Houston and Jacksonville. Jacksonville's a favorite here. Anybody in the chat box that's watching here thinking about this game? Jacksonville is a favorite in this game, and they can barely move the football. They let Davis Mills throw over 40 times in that game on Sunday. Now, they get beat by 20 points. Yes, they did. But dare I say, a much better offense on the Houston Texans than the Jacksonville Jaguars? That is an insane game overall. Something I won't be capping, but as me and Kyle always like to talk about, like some of those pain games that we like to get into and dip into here. Certainly one of those pain games that we have. But it's nice to talk about the NFL here on some opening lines, but also keep in mind, college football bowl season is going to be underway and starting up this week. You do have a slate of Friday games. There's 2 of them, one at 12 o'clock and one at 6 o'clock. Hey, how about that, right? They're going to give us a Friday afternoon football game. Most people at home getting ready for the holidays. That's fantastic stuff by college football to put that bad boy on at noon. That is between Toledo and Middle Tennessee State. 51.5 as a total, 10 as a side in that game. And then at night, 203, 204, Coastal Carolina and Northern Illinois. Northern Illinois getting 10.5 points here from Coastal Carolina. So 2 games set you up for Friday. Now, we talked about the NFL, which does have a Saturday night football game. Obviously, 2 games on Saturday, one in the afternoon and one on Saturday night. But in the college football ranks here, all in order. Check out this. An 11 o'clock game, a 12, a 2:15, a 3:30, 5:45, 7:30, and a 9:15 game. So you're talking about 2 banger NFL games and also throwing in there 7 college football games. Those games on Saturday, App State versus Western Kentucky. That line sitting here at -3 is a favorite towards App State. Total in that game, 68 points. Those 2 teams can probably get after it. And certainly if you've seen Western Kentucky, you're looking for a bounce-back effort after the last game, they certainly can air it out. South Carolina State and Jackson State, UTEP, Fresno State, UAB, BYU, Eastern Michigan, and Liberty. Also Oregon State and Utah State. Marshall and Louisiana. So some of the high totals in this game, in these games. 11 a.m. game, as we talked about there, App State and Western Kentucky at 67.5. And also Oregon State, Utah State, also sitting at around 67.5. And those are the Saturday games. Now, obviously, not going to play any games on Sunday, but then they come back on Monday and start up with a 2:30 p.m. game, Tulsa versus Old Dominion. Yes, Emza, Jacksonville is favored this weekend at home against the Houston Texans. Remember that rematch from opening day where the Jacksonville Jaguars were favored against the Houston Texans and got busted up by those same Texans? I don't even know if either team wants to win that, but it is what it is here. But I want to thank you guys for joining us here on a Monday and my solo show here. Hopefully we get Kyle back shortly. He can dig out from all his snow that took place in Oregon. And we'll certainly have him back for Friday, but also keep in mind Thursday I'll be back for the Win, when me and the boys get together and talk some sharp plays there for Thursday Night Football and give our best bets for the weekend ahead. But I love to talk NFL early lines and get after it here. So thank you guys once again for tuning in here on a Monday to Bookmakers Review. If you haven't done so yet, if you like the content, say, hey, man, Donnie, found you on this channel. Fantastic stuff here. Subscribers right now, 3,250. We're going to build this channel all the way up on our way to 100K. So we don't ask you for any money or do anything much here. Just click that subscribe button, turn the notification bell on, and also do the same thing with our Twitter channel. If you're watching live through Twitter now, haven't followed us at BMR Reviews, please do that here. Show some love and support for the channels. I'm looking forward to tonight's action. If I have anything, I'll certainly post it here on Twitter tonight so we can have some fun and cash in some tickets. And as always here, I'm Donnie RightSide for Bookmakers Review. And today, I was the solo guy in the NFL and college football, but Kyle will be back for next weekend. I always like to leave you guys with this big Monday Night Football game. And as always, good luck on those wagers.